failed. Congratulations. Now I'm going to tell you what to do. First, I'm going to talk about the nature of failure, and then my tips for how to deal with failure coming from my own life. To me, failure is a state, not so much an event. Right? Think of the Aristotle quote where he said, "Excellence, therefore, is a habit." Actually, let me double check that real quick. Excellence, therefore, is not an act, but a habit. Right? Being based off what we do ourselves. So likewise, failure cannot be an event. Failure is a state. It all depends on one's perspective. Falling short of your goal puts you in a state of failure. It's self-inflicted almost. For example, let me give you an example. I'm no bodybuilder, but say I enter the Olympia, and by the grace of God, I get 5th place. Now that to me would be an astounding success. But for some of these high-level bodybuilders, 5th place would be a failure. Right? That's not a failure for me. But on the reverse side, if I lost a foot race against a bunch of 10-year-olds, I'd consider myself a failure. Well, failure all depends on perspective. I don't know if you've seen the first Rocky movie, but Rocky is a nobody boxer, and he gets a shot against Apollo Creed. Apollo Creed's an amazing boxer, walks out with a bunch of fanfare, and the whole point of that first movie is that Rocky's the underdog, and he loses. He loses in the first movie, but it's about so much more than that. It's about him going all rounds with Apollo Creed. I think it's 15 rounds. All 15 rounds with Apollo Creed, and going the distance, as he calls it. So to Rocky, that was a great success. Even though he lost the fight, going the distance itself was a great success. And importantly, our perception of failure is affected by our environment. If we surround ourselves with high achievers, with people who do a lot in life, who win, then maybe a minor inconvenience feels like a failure to us. And if we surround ourselves with nobodies, with lazy people, then sitting at home and playing video games, that feels like a win. That's not a failure at all to us. So failure is a state that you consider yourself in when you didn't meet your expectations. Now, it's possible your expectations were too high, but perhaps you went the distance, as Rocky did. Perhaps you should recognize that you're in a high-achieving environment, and what's a failure to you is a great win for somebody else. So let me talk about a failure I've had. January last year, I didn't make all states. I play violin, and I didn't make all states in my state. Now, I know my state's really competitive. Like, I showed up to audition, and there were a lot of people there from the very rich towns in my state, right? They could afford great violin, great teachers, but those are excuses. Let's get those aside. I didn't make All-State because I wasn't good enough. Simple as that. And that was a failure to me because both 2023 and 2022, I knew I had the chance to make it. I knew I absolutely had the potential. But I fell short by a stupid amount of points both those years. And I felt it in my own performance. As I was auditioning, I felt like I just fell short. Like I could have done better. Well, today I'm reflecting on that. That was a long time ago. And that failure stung. But how I pick myself up from that, I apply it to everything else. And my first tip I can give you refers directly to environments, refers directly to our expectations. And it's when you're in failure, you need to realize the good and bad. Often there's great effort and great persistence from ourselves that we gave to this goal that should be recognized. Right? We should recognize the things we did right and the things we did wrong. We should analyze. It might even help to write all these down, like what I did right, what I did wrong. Because in everything there's good and bad. And especially in failure, we need to realize this because it can be demoralizing otherwise. My second tip is to look towards the next goal. Now, when I did make All-State, I learned another concerto in 13 days and I won a concerto competition. That was big. That was big for me. Whoa. That was big for me because 13 days, that was a very quick turnaround. What is your next goal? Maybe, for example, you're a senior in high school and the football season's over and you didn't win the state championship and you're not going to have another season. That was me with All-State. I was a senior. I'm not going to have another All-State audition. In that case, maybe another goal within your own sport or another goal on its own. You need to look towards the future. Don't be stuck in the past. And with failure, most importantly, accept the present. Accept what you're feeling. Accept the good and bad, and then look towards the next thing. Tip number 3 is reflect. This kind of goes with 1, recognizing like the good and bad. But when I say reflect, I mean you need to really analyze this failure. You need to really look into what went wrong. This is the mistake most people make about failure. They don't take the time to really reflect after they've failed. You need to sit in it for a little while. You need to understand why you're there. And it's only when you reach this state of meditation, of calmness, that you will be able to see what you didn't see before. Failure can sting, but you need to be calm and think about what you've done. And my 4th tip is to adapt. Failure must be a teacher to you if you want to grow. Because in every failure, there's opportunity. There's a chance to do right the next time. Even if you think there's a next time, even if your season's over, you're going to get another chance to prove yourself. Don't worry. Think about how you can change and adapt for the next time. This is what makes champions, this kind of mindset of what went wrong, what went right, what can I do next? This is exactly how you become a champion. And I'm telling you, you can be great not by having no losses, but by having those failures that build you up into a better person. SpaceX had a lot of failed launches before they got it right. A lot of failed launches, like just blowing shit up. You know, it's after each time they say, okay, this went wrong, let's try it again. Let's do this, let's do this. Right? All companies do this, all companies adapt, but I'm thinking of SpaceX in particular for the graphic imagery, like rockets exploding over and over again. That's not demoralizing, that's, what can we do next? So in failure, don't feel demoralized because you have a new direction. In everything, there is a learning opportunity. And let failure be your teacher. Let it guide you